Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great. You're all safe and sound at your home in this lockdown period. Well, in this video, we'll be talking about photorespiration. I've taken this topic from the chapter photosynthesis and I'm specially making this video for my A2 level students for the Cambridge curriculum. Right? Before we start with the video, let me tell you a few points about my channel very quickly. Those who are watching my channel, those who have come to my channel for the very first time, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so that you can get all the notifications on time. Second thing, do not forget to share the video with your near and dear ones. Whatever feedback you have, do not forget to write all the feedbacks in the comment section below so that I can improve more and more and more. Right? So, we'll start with the topic. Let's see. So, first to understand photo and respiration. Now, what happens here? Respiration means you will take in oxygen, you will release carbon dioxide. That's what exactly is going to happen here. But this respiration will be happening with a bit twist. Somewhere down the line, we'll see where exactly. But this will be happening during the photosynthesis in the presence of light. That's why it is said to be photorespiration. This is first thing. Right? So instead of taking carbon dioxide, which you as a plant are supposed to do, you are not taking carbon dioxide, rather you are taking in oxygen and you are liberating carbon dioxide out. That's what happens in the photorespiration. Point number 2, if you see, it's an inevitable process for the C3 plants. That means C3 plants in no way can escape this particular step, which is definitely a waste process, but yes, it's bound to happen for the C3 plant. Now, those who are wondering what do you mean by C3 plant, I'll just give a very quick brief about C3 plants. You know, guys, majority of the plants around us, maybe say 80 to 85% of the plant species are C3. They all fall under C3 category. That means when they do photosynthesis, especially in the Kelvin cycle, the first stable carbon compound they form is having 3 carbon compound. It will be having 3 carbon atom in that particular molecule. That's why it is said to be C3 plants, and the cycle they run is known as C3 cycle, right? Okay. Second, let's talk about why it is said to be a waste process. So we usually have two major reasons for waste process. First is it will reduce the rate of photosynthesis by sure. So how exactly it's going to reduce the rate of photosynthesis? We will talk about it in the next slide in detail. Second reason is the assimilatory power, which are reduced in the light dependent phase. That means it will give you some energy. These are all high energy rich molecules. Let's take ATP as an example. Let's take reduced NADP as an example. These are some of the examples of assimilatory powers molecules. So these high energy rich molecules will be used in this process, but the outcome will not be that much of significant. That's why it's a waste process. Now there is a main key factor who is actually behind the curtain, and he is the main villain of the photorespiration, and that's none other than the enzyme rubisco. Now those who don't know the name of the rubisco, I'll tell you the name of the rubisco. It's ribulose 1,5-biphosphate or bisphosphate. Now you have to focus. Carboxylase, oxygenase. You see here, it's given both the letters C and O. So C stands for carboxylase. That means this is a kind of typical enzyme which can facilitate carboxylation as a process. Okay, next letter is O. So that means which stands for oxygenase. That means this is a kind of enzyme which can facilitate oxygenation as a process. Please mark my word carefully. I didn't say oxidation. I said oxygenation. That means addition of oxygen is said to be oxygenation. Addition of carbon dioxide is said to be carboxylation. Now, if you focus in this enzyme on the enzyme, you will see it has a particular dual nature. It can perform carboxylation. It can also perform oxygenation. But when it will do what is a matter of concern, and that's where exactly the photorespiration comes into play. We'll see. We'll talk about it. So here, if you see the process as overall, what you will see, oxygenation will be happening instead of carboxylation. So, in the photosynthesis, you tend to fix up the carbon by the process carboxylation. Am I right? But here, during the photorespiration, you are not able to fix the carbon. Rather, you are going to fix the oxygen. So definitely, it's not an efficient process as far as photosynthesis is concerned. We have to take that into consideration. So since it is inevitable by the C3 plants, so somewhere down the line, the plants have come up with a recovery unit, a recovery plan, which will help the plant to recover the loss of carbon at least by 75%. We'll talk about it in details how. So that's why, since there is a recovery happening as far as carbon are concerned, they are said to be a scavenging process. Please remember. Next point, in this photorespiration process, 3 different cell organelles are involved. It's not only about chloroplast, by the way, something we have seen in conventional photosynthesis. Rather, though it's a waste and inefficient process, this particular process involves 3 different cell organelles. It will involve chloroplast, it will involve peroxisome, and it will involve mitochondria. These 3 cell organelles are involved. Last but not the least, it will also help in the formation of oxygen. Hold on. This may sound to you very contradictory because I told you in the beginning, if you are doing respiration, you are going to utilize oxygen rather than liberating the oxygen. But in this course of time, you will see somewhere the photorespiration is also able to produce the oxygen. Where exactly, you will see. Not right now. Right? Okay. Yes, that's a normal Kelvin cycle happening inside the C3 plants. Right? So if you see here, it starts with the RUBP as a compound, which is a 5-carbon compound, and you take in oxygen from the atmosphere, which is single carbon compound. The moment you fix them together, you form the first stable 3-carbon compound, as a result of which you name this cycle as C3 cycle. And the plants are said to be C3 plants. Well, don't consider this keto compound. This is an unstable compound. That's why we don't call this cycle as a C6 cycle. Rather, we call this as a C3 cycle. Remember, students, one thing. Whenever you see this number, C3, C2, C4, these are all basically from the point of view of the stable compound, the first ever stable compound that we are going to form, not unstable compound. So, unstable compound here is an intermediate. So, you have to focus on those products which are stable, which will be later on utilized, right? So, that's a normal conventional Kelvin cycle. And definitely here you have that particular enzyme, that is Rubisco. So, understand one thing here. Let me change the color. Understand one thing here. Here you have carbon. So, this C here, the letter C, is actually facilitating carboxylation. If you see, it's adding up the carbon dioxide here. So, this carbon dioxide will be added to this 5-carbon compound, and then they will form this 3-carbon stable compound, and the name has come up like C3 cycle. So, for the time being, you can see Rubisco here is performing carboxylation. It's not performing oxygenation, right? Now, let's go to the next second slide. Now, if you see here, what is happening? CO2, first you focus here, this particular diagram. CO2 fixation by the C3 pathway, right? So, you have the ribulose biphosphate, you have the carbon dioxide, right? You have the enzyme, this is the this is the Rubisco as an enzyme. So, this enzyme, in the presence of carbon dioxide, will fix this carbon dioxide with this 5-carbon compound, which is ribulose biphosphate, and it will form, if you see, 2 molecules of 3-glycerate phosphate. So that's why this is said to be C3 cycle, right? That's what happens in the normal conventional Kelvin cycle. Now if you focus here, this is the condition where at higher partial pressure of oxygen, the oxygen will compete with the carbon dioxide for the active site of Rubisco. Rubisco is an enzyme. So every enzyme, it has its own active site. So if in the atmosphere, if in the surrounding of that cell, that photosynthetic cell, if the level of oxygen goes up than the level of carbon dioxide, it will facilitate the oxygenation process. Who will facilitate? Rubisco. So understand the fact. The Rubisco will start showing higher affinity towards oxygen than carbon dioxide if it senses that relative amount of oxygen surrounding me is more than that of carbon dioxide. I will start showing my affinity towards oxygen. That's what exactly happens in photorespiration. So what is happening here? So here if you see, Rubisco will be taking oxygen in place of carbon dioxide. Here you use carbon dioxide, right? Here you're using oxygen. So what you're going to get? This is still a 5 carbon compound. But in the oxygen there is no carbon, like you could find here, 1 carbon, right? So definitely in no way you can form 3 carbon compound, right? 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound. In no way you're going to form that. So what will happen? In this particular case, 1 carbon compound will be having 2 carbon atoms, and the other one will be having 3 carbon compound. So this 3 carbon atom compound is nothing but this, the same compound, right? Now please understand here. Initially in the Kelvin cycle, you were producing 2 molecules of this C3 element. So definitely, if you produce 1 molecule of this instead of 2, so don't you think, students, your efficiency of producing glucose will be brought down, will be reduced? That's what happens in photorespiration. So understand one thing. Here you produced 2 molecules of C3. Here you are only producing 1 molecule of that C3. So definitely your efficiency of photosynthesis will come down. This is one, right? Okay. Now if you remember, we talked about this. Some recovery will happen, right? So I'll tell you where exactly. If you see this 2 carbon compound, which is said to be phosphoglycolate, this is a waste, this is a toxic plant product. So from this phosphoglycolate, plant wants to recover the carbon, which is other way is going to be lost. That's what happens here, right? So let's talk about, now I want your 100% attention here one more time. If you see, let me change the color. Yeah. Now if you see, these are the cell organelle which are going to be, which are going to participate in the photorespiration, and that exactly is the order. It will start from the chloroplast, then peroxisome, then mitochondria, then again something will go back. We'll see what exactly happens. Now understand what happens here. It starts with RUBP. Now here, that's the first difference here. You see, instead of carbon dioxide, you are using oxygen. That means the relative amount of oxygen is higher than that of carbon dioxide. As a result of which, the Rubisco, that means here the enzyme is sitting here. Here the enzyme. This Rubisco will show oxygenation process. It will show higher affinity towards oxygen. As a result of which, you are going to form first stable 2 carbon compound, which is said to be phosphoglycolate. That's why this photorespiration is alternatively known as C2 cycle, because the first stable compound will be 2 carbon compound. Okay. What's next? Apart from this, you are also going to prepare one 3-carbon compound, which is nothing but the PGA, the one we have seen here. This one. So what will happen? This will eventually enter the C3 cycle, normal. It will go on its own. But, my dear students, understand, had it been a normal cycle, had it been a carbon dioxide instead of oxygen, you'd have got one more PGA here, right? Right? But since you're using oxygen, so this 5-carbon compound, you can break it open into one 2-carbon compound and one 3-carbon compound. Right? This 3-carbon compound will enter the Kelvin cycle. Now, recovery. Recovery will be done from here. So what happens? Understand. From this 2-carbon compound, suppose if I have 2 molecules of this 2-carbon compound, that means 4-carbon compound, 4-carbon atom, that means like this, 1, 1 and 2, right? Now see what I am doing. I can make one 3-carbon compound, right? This 3-carbon compound in the form of PGA can enter the normal C3 cycle. Am I right? Yes. This single leftover carbon will be released in the form of carbon dioxide. Now my dear students, you see what I have done here. I showed you, you have taken in oxygen here and you are liberating carbon dioxide. So what is that process called? Respiration. This is happening in the presence of sunlight during photosynthesis. So definitely it's a photorespiration. I hope that makes sense to you, right? So, if you see, I have written here as by 75%. Now you come here, you see what I have done. Out of 4 carbon atom, you have recovered 3 carbon atom. So that means definitely it's a 75% recovery you have done. Correct? Super. Let's quickly see what is happening inside the cycle. Again, all these names are not so important. I will just try to give you a brief idea about what exactly happens. So, whatever compound will be forming, this C2 element will eventually enter into the peroxisome. Right? Now, what happens in the peroxisome? While this formation takes place from glycolate to the glyoxylate, they keep on liberating hydrogen peroxide as a byproduct. Now, as you know, too much of hydrogen peroxide for a cell is toxic. So, the moment you touch that benchmark in the cell, the moment you touch that benchmark and you cross that, there is another enzyme sitting, that's catalase. This catalase will start breaking down this hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. So, this peroxide will be broken down in the presence of catalase in oxygen and water. Now, if I take you to the first slide here, now you actually understand why have I written this. That means there will be a formation of oxygen, right? Okay. Now, through so many intermediate, if you see this glycine is being formed, this serine is being formed, these are all different amino acids, right? Glycine, if you know, glycine is the simplest form of amino acid, if I'm not wrong. So through all these things, if you see, through all these things, it's going to produce the PGA back. So are you understanding? This is nothing but a recovery happening. That's what I told here. You see how did they form the PGA? Through this recovery. So multiple intermediates will be formed in between, which is again highly out of syllabus, will not talk about it. And they will form this PGA, and this PGA will eventually enter the C3 cycle. Yeah, it's written as PCR cycle. PCR means photosynthetic carbon reduction, which is nothing but your Kelvin cycle, nothing but your dark reaction, nothing but your light independent phase, right? That's about the photorespiration. Now if you see, I wrote something here. Now you focus on the second point. Assimilatory power is being used up without giving any significant production. You come here now, you see. You are using the assimilatory power somewhere here. I'll show you. If you see here, right, this is just an example. So if you see, you are using this assimilatory power, but not to produce a glucose, but to recovery the carbons. So this is not that much of efficient. That's about photorespiration. Well, this is the last slide. Now, why photorespiration happens? First things first, you have to remember both the gases, that means oxygen and carbon dioxide, both of them will show an affinity towards the rubisco based on the relative level present in the atmosphere. So, if the relative level of oxygen is higher, definitely it will favor the oxygenation over carboxylation, right? So what happens during this, like high light intensity, high temperature, plant will try to shut down the stomata so that no dehydration, no water loss takes place. As a result of which, the intake of carbon dioxide will be closed, will be at halt. That will lead to a decreasing quantity of carbon dioxide. This is one thing. And the last point, if you see, increasing temperature also favors the oxygenation. If the temperature keeps on increasing, it decreases the solubility of the gases. Increasing temperature will decrease the solubility of the gases. This is specifically for the carbon dioxide. So if at that particular point when temperature is pretty high, the solubility of the carbon dioxide will be low. As a result of which, carbon dioxide won't be able to reach to that particular cell organelle where photosynthesis will take place. But this will not have any effect on the oxygen. As a result of which, oxygen will show its affinity as usual, whether the temperature is increasing or decreasing. Finally, photorespiration will happen. That's it, guys. That's about the photorespiration. I hope you have enjoyed, you have understood the video. So, if you have any doubt, do not forget to let me know in the comment section down below. If you think I have said it wrong, please rectify me. And one more time before I call it for a day, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon, hit the like button, and share your videos with the near and dear ones. And like I have already told you, in the second video, I'm planning to make a second video on which I will be talking about how does a plant can avoid photorespiration. That means we will talk about some adaptive feature of the plant. Right? Till now, until then rather, take care, stay at home, stay positive, mentally stay positive and stay educated. Till then, bye bye, sayonara.